What's going on, guys? B Scott here with you on today's show. We got your tight end sit starts heading in to week number 10. I'm going to go through a lot of the must-start tight ends. I'm going to give you a couple to sit and a couple to stream this week for fantasy football. So keep it locked and loaded right here at the first four downs. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. As I mentioned in the preview, we're rolling through your tight end sit starts heading in to week number 10. So before we get to today's content, don't forget, like the video, subscribe, share, thumb bell, all that good stuff, and then comment. If there's a tight end you want to ask about, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my opinions. I'm not going to touch on all of them, but I will touch on a lot of the starting ones. So let's start at the top with just your must-start tight ends. I like to rattle them off pretty quickly. And we'll start with Travis Kelce at the Las Vegas Raiders, tight end 1. Set it and forget it. Bounced back last week. Should have a good day this week. Mark Andrews at the Miami Dolphins. 10 targets he saw. Not a great day fantasy-wise last week. 5 for 44. But tight end 2 on the season. Mark Andrews has been great. Mike Gesicki. Honestly, the tight end number 3 on the season. He's been really good too, and he faces the Baltimore Ravens, who've given up the second most fantasy points to the tight end position, and he's had 8+ targets in 3 of his last 4, even with Tua. There or not, I'd be starting Mike Gesicki right now, any given week. Should be a good spot for him. TJ Hockenson at the Pittsburgh Steelers, 9+ targets in 3 straight games, and it's pure volume. You got a tight end that's getting that kind of volume, you're going to be starting him. So Hockenson must start, it's obvious. Kyle Pitts at the Dallas Cowboys. Honestly, pretty volatile at the tight end position, but he possesses the tight end 1 upside, meaning he could be the tight end 1 on any given week. So I like Kyle Pitts as a start here. Could be a potential shootout, and Dallas has been susceptible to giving up a lot of yards to the tight end position. So Kyle Pitts, obvious start. Darren Waller versus Kansas City Chiefs. 11 targets coming out of the bye with no Henry Ruggs. Hopefully we can see him flirt with that 9 to 10 target range from here on out and, really build on what he did from last year and what we drafted him on in the hopes this year. So Darren Waller smash spot here against Kansas City secondary that's not good. Dalton Schultz versus the Atlanta Falcons. Once again, shootout type potential here. Dalton Schultz should see a bounce back. Blake Jarwin got placed on IR before last week's game, and I don't know what happened to the Dallas offense. They just disappeared altogether. But Dalton Schultz, I'd be starting him. He's been very good. So Dawson Knox, another guy, got to look for the health of his hand. But if he's healthy, he's playing at the New York Jets, you're starting him. He's been good on the season, so start Dawson Knox. George Kittle, the comeback. Playing the Los Angeles Rams on Monday Night Football. Not necessarily a great spot for him, but honestly, had a tough matchup last week. It's George Kittle. You see the potential in what he can do. 8 targets, 6 catches, 101 yards and a touchdown. You're starting George Kittle, so fire him up. Rob Gronkowski, if he's healthy, plays the Washington football team. You got to be starting him. One of the worst defenses in the league, especially secondary. So start Rob Gronkowski if healthy. And then Pat Freiermuth. You saw it on Monday Night Football just last night. 2 touchdowns in a tough matchup. And I've been talking about Freiermuth, honestly, for a long time, many weeks. I just wasn't sure where his production was going to come. And you see Juju Smith-Schuster out. Chase Claypool, he left the game with an injury at the very end of that game. And we'll have to see. But he's seeing enough volume and targets. 6+ targets, 3 straight games, 3 touchdowns over his last 2 games. You're starting Pat Freiermuth versus the Detroit Lions. So on to a couple sits. Obviously, there's some tight ends I didn't necessarily mention as a start. If you got any questions about any of them, drop in the comments. But some sits for me. Jared Cook, facing the Minnesota Vikings. Jared Cook's been on the start-sit show range every single week. This week, he's a sit. Minnesota, giving up the 4th fewest fantasy points to the tight end position. 0 touchdowns to the tight ends on the year. And then Jared Cook hasn't cleared 50 yards since week 4. Last week, 4 catches, 48 yards. To be honest, you'll probably live with that on any given week at the tight end position, depending. But I just don't see upside here, so I'm sitting Jared Cook. Another guy, Tyler Higbee. At the San Francisco 49ers, I would be sitting him. San Francisco giving up the 4th fewest yards, just 26 yards per game to the tight end position at this point. Higbee has 0 touchdowns in his last 4 games. 10 targets. That was a great sign on Sunday. 5 catches, 51 yards. Not a horrible line, but he just hasn't been finding the end zone. And I don't think he's got the upside to have a big game here, so I like Higbee as a sit this week. On to some stream options. A couple of guys that I like as streamers. Tyler Conklin at the Los Angeles Chargers. He was a stream for me last week. Did okay, not horrible, but not really getting into the end zone, which is what you want for these streaming tight ends. But the Los Angeles Chargers give up the 5th most fantasy points to the tight end position. 5 receptions, back-to-back games for Tyler Conklin, and 5+ targets in 5 of his last 6 games. So he's making some work. He's just missing the touchdowns. So I like this as a potential start, considering the shootout potential with the Los Angeles Chargers. Both these teams can put up some points. The defenses are okay in spurts, but also give up a lot of points. So I like Tyler Conklin as a stream. And another guy, Dan Arnold. I'm going to be streaming him this week at the Indianapolis Colts. Give up the 7th most fantasy points to tight ends. Have allowed a touchdown to 5 different tight ends. And Dan Arnold, yes, the touchdowns have not been there, so hopefully he can find the end zone to really boost his upside. But he's seeing the volume. 30 targets over his last 4 games. Cleared 60 yards in 3 of his last 4 games, coming off a game in which he had 7 targets, 4 catches for 60 yards against a tough Buffalo defense. I'll take that line any day of the week for a streaming tight end. So Dan Arnold is a good stream option this week. I think they'll potentially be down to the Indianapolis Colts. Could need to be throwing the ball a lot. I could see Dan Arnold with another 6 to 8 targets here. So Dan Arnold, he's a great stream option heading in to week number 10. So that's it. That's my quick rundown of the tight end position. If there's any tight ends I didn't mention, drop in the comment section. I'll be glad to give you my opinions on it, whether to start them, sit them, start one guy over another, whatever you want to ask, drop it in the comment section. While you're there, once again, like the video and subscribe for all your fantasy football information all week long. I answer all the start sit questions. Any questions you have at all, drop in the comments, and I always get back to everybody. So for the first 4 downs, it's been B. Scott, and I'm out.